Happiness is the ultimate anesthetic. It numbs your instinct for survival. You think the universe pauses because it's your wedding day? You are wrong. Today, we dissect 6 moments where joy blinded the victim to the blade of physics hanging over their neck. From fatal infernos to fatal impacts, this is not a tragedy. This is a forensic audit of how fast a human body breaks when it forgets to be afraid. Watch closely. The evening of November 5, 2011 settles over the city of Ternopil, Ukraine, with a sharp, damp autumn wind. Inside a local banquet hall, the atmosphere is a fortress of golden light and celebration. The air is heavy with the scent of lilies and beeswax candles. Katerina Kostur is 27 years old. She is the center of this world. Her wedding dress is a masterpiece of volume and intricate design. It is a cascading mountain of white organza, nylon tulle, and fine lace. To the guests, it is a symbol of elegance. To the laws of chemistry, it is a vertical stack of solid petroleum fuel. Most high-end bridal fabrics are made from synthetic polymers that do not simply burn, they transition into a high-temperature liquefied state that exceeds 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Katerina moves through the room with a sense of perfect safety. She greets her guests near long tables decorated with hundreds of small tea lights. These decorative candles are placed at floor level to create a soft, romantic glow. This is a standard aesthetic choice for luxury events. At 8:38 p.m., the celebration is at its peak. Katerina walks past a low pedestal adorned with flickering wicks. A slight draft from a ventilation duct shifts her skirt toward a flame. The contact is silent. It lasts less than half a second. The lightweight lace catches fire instantly. Because of the multi-layered structure of the skirt, oxygen is trapped between every sheet of fabric. This creates a vertical chimney effect. The fire does not stay at the hem. It uses the hollow space under the bell-shaped dress as a furnace. The heat rises at a rate of several feet per second. Katerina feels the warmth at her ankles and reacts with human instinct. She begins to run. This is the moment her fate is decided. Movement provides the fire with a high-velocity stream of fresh oxygen. The flames surge upward, doubling in height in a heartbeat. The entire gown becomes a roaring pillar of orange light. Panic shatters the festive music. Guests rush forward with heavy winter coats and tablecloths. They try to smother the blaze, but the synthetic fibers have already reached their melting point. The dress is no longer fabric. It is a layer of liquefied synthetic material that fuses directly to the skin. This liquid fuel transfers thermal energy with perfect efficiency into her deep tissue. Every second the fire burns, it consumes the oxygen in the immediate vicinity of her face. Katerina inhales the superheated air. The gas is hot enough to cause immediate thermal damage to her throat and lungs. At 8:41 p.m., the guests pull her to the ground and extinguish the fire with a heavy rug. The room falls into a deafening, acrid silence. The smell of perfume is replaced by the chemical stench of burnt plastic. Katerina remains conscious but enters a state of profound physiological shock. Her body redirects blood flow to her internal organs to survive the massive trauma. Emergency responders arrive 12 minutes later. They find the remains of the gown scattered across the marble floor like charred paper. The paramedics work with mechanical precision. They administer high-flow oxygen and start intravenous lines to stabilize her blood pressure. The clinical reality is irreversible. Katerina has sustained third-degree thermal injuries to over 80% of her body. She is transported to a specialized burn center under police escort. Doctors describe the injuries as non-survivable. The scale of the tissue damage and the internal respiratory trauma is too great. Her lungs can no longer oxygenate her blood. At 3:15 a.m., her heart stops. The cause of death is recorded as multi-organ failure resulting from catastrophic thermal trauma. In the following weeks, the banquet hall remains dark. Investigators determined the candles were placed too close to the walking paths. This tragedy became a milestone for the local event industry. It led to strict new regulations regarding open flames in public venues. Many designers began using flame-retardant chemicals on formal wear. For the family, the world stopped on that cold November night. A single decorative candle turned a symbol of a new beginning into a final curtain. The silence in the hall now stands as a monument to the indifference of physics. The universe does not care if you are wearing a masterpiece. It only follows the laws of heat and chemistry. A life that should have flourished for decades ended in seconds. The marble floors were polished again, and the scent of lilies returned, but the shadow of that night remains. This story is a cold reminder that beauty is no shield. The night air in Austin, Texas, on September 16, 2011, is heavy with the scent of humid asphalt and city lights. This is the heart of Texas. The highways are wide and the limestone bridges stand like gray sentinels over the traffic. Brittany Tavar is 21 years old today. In American culture, this is the ultimate milestone. It is a night of perceived invincibility. To celebrate, she and her friends have rented a white Lincoln Town car-stretch limousine. The vehicle is a fortress of luxury. It is designed to insulate its passengers from the outside world. Inside, the cabin is a kaleidoscope of neon lights and deep bass. The scent of sparkling wine and perfume is everywhere. Brittany is surrounded by her closest friends. The world outside the windows is just a blur of streetlights. At 10:30 p.m., the limousine is traveling southbound on the Mopac Expressway. The driver is a professional, maintaining a steady speed of 50 miles per hour. This speed is standard for the highway. However, it carries massive kinetic energy. The vehicle weighs over 5,000 pounds. In the back, the party is loud and energetic. The limousine features a large rectangular sunroof. This feature is intended for ventilation while parked. It is not a platform for highway travel, but the euphoria of the birthday shatters the logic of safety. Brittany decides to embrace the night. She wants to feel the wind and see the city stars. She pulls herself up through the opening. Her upper body is now fully exposed. The wind hits her at 73 feet per second. It is a physical force that pulls at her hair. She is exhilarated and unaware of the closing infrastructure. The Mopac Expressway is lined with concrete overpasses. These structures are built to standard vertical clearances. A limousine is already higher than a typical car. When a human stands through a sunroof, their total height can exceed 8 feet. The driver cannot see Brittany in his mirror. He is focused on the lane ahead. A low-hanging concrete bridge beam looms in the darkness. It is a solid mass of reinforced concrete. At 50 miles per hour, the distance between the roof and the bridge is less than 24 inches. Brittany is looking toward the back of the car. She is laughing and waving at her friends. She does not see the gray shadow. There is no time to duck. There is no time for a warning. The interaction occurs in a fraction of a millisecond. The laws of motion are absolute and indifferent. When a moving object meets an immovable mass, energy is dissipated instantly. The impact results in catastrophic, blunt force trauma to the upper body and cranium. The physical energy causes a sudden and fatal injury that is non-survivable. The momentum of the vehicle carries it forward under the bridge without a pause. Inside the car, the music is still playing, but the wind noise has changed. Her friends look up to see an empty space. The celebratory atmosphere is replaced by a terrifying silence. The driver pulls the limousine to the shoulder near the Enfield Road exit. He finds a scene of total devastation. Emergency services arrive within minutes. They find the vehicle under the sterile glow of highway lamps. Paramedics confirm the fatal outcome at 10:45 p.m. The cause of death is listed as severe cranial trauma from an external impact. The concrete bridge remains undamaged. It shows only a microscopic scuff mark. This event triggered an investigation into the limousine industry. New warnings were issued to ensure sunroofs remain locked. Rental contracts were updated to prohibit standing and moving vehicles. But these changes cannot undo the mechanics of that night. A 21st birthday meant to be a transition into life. For Brittany, it became the final sentence. The white limousine was later towed to a secure lot. It sat in the dark with half-empty glasses and decorations still on the seats. A pink birthday sash was found tangled in the interior trim. It was the final artifact of a life cut short by a single second. The bridge still stands today. Thousands of drivers pass under it every hour. They do not know it was the site of a fatal collision. The universe does not respect milestones. It only respects speed and density. The machinery of the world does not pause for a party. It only follows the rules of motion. The silence on the highway is the final echo of a celebration that forgot the danger of the road. Safety is a physical boundary. A single second of standing up ended 21 years of living. There is no appeal to physics. There is only the consequence of the concrete. The birthday cake was left in a dark house. A single bridge changed a family forever. Every structure has a limit. The limestone stayed cold while the night turned into a memory. There is no room for error when steel meets stone. The legacy of Brittany Tavar is a silent warning to everyone who feels invincible. Physics is the final judge of every celebration. There is only the consequence of a single, slippery step into the deep. This event remains a dark chapter in fashion photography. It is a lesson written in the cold currents of Quebec. Every year, people visit the falls, unaware that the beauty once masked a fatal trap. The silence of the river is the final witness to a moment where a symbol of love became a mechanism of death. Safety is never a guarantee. It is a fragile state shattered by a few gallons of water and a single piece of silk. The machinery of nature worked without emotion. It simply pulled until the air was gone. The bride's final frame, Maria Pantazopoulos. The air near the Waro River in Rawdon, Quebec, is thick with the scent of damp pine and cold, wet stone on August 24, 2012. The afternoon sun reflects off the rushing water of the Dorwin Falls. Maria Pantazopoulos is 30 years old. She is a successful real estate agent who recently celebrated her wedding. Today is the final chapter of that celebration. She has come to this rugged location for a trash the dress photo shoot. This fashion trend involves a bride wearing her gown in a wild, natural environment to create artistic images. Maria is wearing a traditional bridal gown made of heavy silk and multiple layers of tulle. On a dry mannequin, the dress weighs roughly 15 pounds. In the context of the river, it is a dormant weight. Maria stands at the edge of a shallow pool. The water is clear but incredibly cold. The riverbed is a treacherous landscape of smooth, moss-covered rocks and deep silt. The photographer positions himself on the bank to capture the white fabric interacting with the dark water. Maria steps further into the stream. At first, the water only reaches her knees. She moves deeper until it reaches her waist. This is where the laws of physics intervene. Silk and satin are natural fibers that are highly absorbent. They are hydrophilic, meaning they have a massive capacity to soak up liquid. As water saturates the fabric, the air trapped between the layers is forced out. The dress does not just get wet, it undergoes a massive increase in mass. Each layer of tulle acts like a sponge, trapping hundreds of pounds of water within its structure. The dress rapidly transforms from a 15-pound garment into an anchor weighing over 100 pounds. This is nearly 45 kilograms of dead weight attached to her torso. The current of the Waro River is a moving force. The large surface area of the saturated skirt creates a massive amount of drag. Maria loses her footing on a slippery stone and falls backward into a deeper section. She tries to stand, but her muscles cannot lift the waterlogged fabric. The photographer drops his equipment and jumps into the river. He reaches her and grabs her hand. He pulls with everything he has, but he is not just pulling a woman, he is fighting the river in the weight of the gown. The dress is now a lead-like shroud wrapping around her legs and restricting her movement. Every kick entangles her further. Many wedding dresses have complex corsetry and long rows of buttons, making them impossible to remove quickly. Maria is trapped inside a sinking cage. She calls to the photographer, telling him she cannot breathe because the dress is too heavy. The current catches the bulk of the skirt and pulls her toward the center of the river. The photographer is nearly pulled under himself. Maria's head disappears beneath the surface. The biological reality beneath the water is absolute. At this depth, the body faces an immediate mechanical failure. The weight of the dress prevents the victim from reaching the surface for oxygen. This leads to an acute onset of hypoxia. As oxygen levels in the blood drop, the heart rate becomes erratic. The lungs attempt to draw air, but receive river water instead. This causes a terminal respiratory event. The brain loses consciousness within 3 minutes. Emergency services arrive and divers begin a systematic search. The visibility is poor and the current is strong. After 4 hours, they find her at the bottom of the river, 100 feet from where she fell. She is still wearing the gown. The divers note that even underwater, the dress is incredibly difficult to move. It takes 2 men to bring her body to the surface. Paramedics confirm the fatal outcome at the scene. The official cause of death is accidental drowning. This case became a global warning about the hidden dangers of the trash the dress trend. Safety experts issued new protocols, advising that such shoots should only happen in very shallow water. They recommended having a safety diver with a knife nearby to cut the fabric in an emergency. But for Maria, the creative dream ended in a cold, physical reality. The river does not care about the beauty of a wedding. It only cares about the density of silk and the power of the current. The Darwin Falls continue to flow, and the mist still rises from the rocks. The only thing missing is the woman who believed she could dance with the water while wearing a weight she could not carry. The story of Maria Pantazopoulos remains a grim reminder of how fast a celebration can turn into a struggle. Nature is indifferent to human joy. It only knows the laws of gravity and saturation. The white dress at the bottom of the river is a haunting image of a life interrupted by a trend that ignored the weight of reality. There is no appeal to the physics of water. The air inside the dead-end bar in San Angelo, Texas, on the night of February 18, 2011, is a thick mixture of deep fryer oil and the faint, earthy scent of damp sawdust. Blue and red neon lights pulse against the wood-paneled walls, reflecting off rows of glass bottles and the faces of a weekend crowd. At the center of this world sits the main attraction, a mechanical bull. It is a mass of padded steel and industrial hydraulic pistons designed to mimic the violent, unpredictable motions of a live animal. This machine is a marvel of high-torque electric motors. It is built to generate sudden, jerky movements along multiple axes, using sensors to react to the rider's weight and posture. Frances Martinez is 29 years old. She is a mother and a friend, caught in the high-energy euphoria of a night out in her hometown. To everyone in the room, the machine represents a controlled thrill. It sits inside a large inflatable perimeter, a ring of blue and red air-filled vinyl meant to provide a soft landing for anyone who is thrown from the saddle. This environment creates a powerful illusion of total safety. The general assumption is that the risk is only a simulation, but the physics of the machine are real. The motor does not understand the difference between a game and a physical crisis. It only responds to the throttle. Frances climbs onto the vinyl saddle and grips the braided rope. The operator at the control booth engages the system. The bull begins a slow, rhythmic bucking motion. The crowd cheers as the movements become faster and more aggressive. The physics of a mechanical bull involve a complex interaction of centripetal force and sudden shifts in momentum. The machine is designed to overcome the rider's grip by creating a rapid whipsaw effect. As the bull spins and bucks, the physical toll on the human body rises. The human neck is a delicate structural assembly of 7 cervical vertebrae. It is optimized for movement and sensory range, not for absorbing high-velocity kinetic energy or sudden vertical compression. At roughly 11:30 p.m., the bull executes a violent vertical heave followed by a rapid 180-degree rotation. The inertia of Frances's upper body carries her in one direction while the machine snaps in the other. Her grip on the rope fails. The centripetal force ejects her from the saddle. In a standard fall, the rider would land flat on the thick inflatable mat. However, the trajectory of this fall is different. As she is thrown, her body rotates in midair. Gravity takes over. She is accelerated toward the very edge of the safety perimeter. This is where the protection of the air-filled mat ends. She falls headfirst toward the small gap where the inflatable ring meets the hard floor of the bar. The reality of the situation is now a matter of clinical data. The impact results in catastrophic blunt force trauma to the upper cervical spine. The kinetic energy of the fall is concentrated entirely on the neck. This causes an immediate displacement of the vertebrae. The injury is non-survivable because it shatters the neural pathways that control the respiratory system. Frances becomes motionless the moment she hits the floor. The music in the bar continues for several seconds before the operator realizes the severity of the fall and cuts the power. The bull gives one final mechanical twitch and then falls silent. The cheering stops instantly. The smell of sawdust and beer remains, but the celebratory energy is gone. Friends rush to her side and find her unresponsive. Emergency medical services are called at 11:35 p.m. Paramedics arrive and begin life-saving protocols. They provide artificial ventilation and stabilize her head for transport. Frances is rushed to Shannon Medical Center. Doctors there attempt to manage the massive trauma, but the biological damage to the central nervous system is absolute. The heart can no longer function without the signals from the brain. She is pronounced dead later that night. The cause of death is recorded as fatal trauma to the cervical spine. This event triggered a massive investigation into the safety and maintenance of mechanical rides in public venues. A legal battle followed, focusing on whether the inflatable mat was large enough or properly positioned to prevent such an injury. The bar eventually settled the case and the mechanical bull was permanently removed. This story serves as a cold lesson in the mechanics of risk. A machine built for entertainment is still a powerful industrial tool. It follows the laws of physics without emotion. The padded ring offered an illusion of protection, but it could not overcome the fatal angle of a single fall. Today, the space where the bull once stood is filled with quiet tables. The neon lights still flicker, but the room feels different to those who remember that night. A young woman's life ended in a 3-second interaction with a motor, proving that a simulation of danger can generate real, terminal force. The universe does not pause for a party. It only respects the speed of the motion and the density of the impact. The silence of the dead motor is the final witness to a life interrupted. Safety is not a guarantee provided by a machine. It is a fragile state that can be shattered by a single mechanical rotation. There is no appeal to the laws of motion. There is only the consequence of the fall. The machinery of fate worked with perfect torque. The result was an irreversible silence. The empty saddle of the bull remains a symbol of a risk that was never as safe as it looked. Every turn of the motor carries a weight the human frame was never meant to bear. In San Angelo, the name Frances Martinez is now linked to a fatal lesson in momentum. The bar continues to serve drinks, but the center of the floor remains a ghost of a machine that forgot its place as a toy. Physics is the final judge of every ride. There is no room for error when steel meets bone. Nature simply acts, and the consequence is final. The air in London on February 22, 2014, is a heavy blanket of winter mist that clings to the streetlights of the West End. Inside the nightclub, the atmosphere is a sharp contrast of warmth and electric brilliance. Blue and violet neon light pulses in time with a bass line that vibrates through the bones of every guest. The air is a thick mixture of expensive perfume, hot electronics, and the faint, acrid smell of ozone from the smoke machines. Natalie Finch is 21 years old today. This is the milestone of her young life. She is surrounded by friends, caught in the euphoric energy of a night that feels endless. The bar is the center of this world, a stage where bartenders act as modern alchemists. They are using liquid nitrogen to create nitro cocktails. This substance is a cryogenic fluid used in science and industry. In the world of physics, nitrogen remains a liquid only when cooled to minus 320 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a clear, bubbling fluid that stores a terrifying amount of potential energy. When this liquid touches anything warm, it undergoes a violent phase change. It transitions from liquid to gas instantly. During this process, it expands 700 times its original volume. This rapid expansion creates the cascading white fog that makes the drinks look like magical artifacts. The standard safety protocol for these cocktails is strict and non-negotiable. A customer must wait several minutes for the liquid nitrogen to evaporate completely. The drink is only safe when the smoke has stopped and the temperature has stabilized. But in the loud, chaotic environment of a crowded London club, the margin for error is razor thin. Natalie is caught in the festive spirit, unaware of the chemical reality inside her glass. She sees the shimmering, smoking drink as a harmless prop for her celebration. At roughly 11:45 p.m., she lifts the glass to her lips. She takes a swallow while the liquid nitrogen is still in its concentrated, cryogenic state. The moment the fluid enters her body, the thermal laws of the universe take control. The nitrogen encounters internal body heat and undergoes an immediate, high-pressure phase expansion. It flashes into a massive volume of gas within the confined space of her digestive tract. The visual spectacle is instantly replaced by a life-threatening medical crisis. This expansion creates an immediate and extreme internal pressure surge. The stomach lining is a biological tissue, not a reinforced pressure vessel. It cannot withstand a 700-fold increase in gas volume. The result is a catastrophic perforation of the gastric wall. This is a severe internal thermal injury combined with a pressure-induced rupture. The cryogenic temperature causes immediate localized tissue necrosis, which is the death of cells through extreme freezing. Natalie collapses to the floor within seconds. The music continues to play for a brief moment before the staff realizes the magic has turned into a fatal crisis. The smell of the nitrogen fog is replaced by the sterile, panicked energy of a medical emergency. Paramedics arrive and find Natalie in acute circulatory shock. Her body is struggling to maintain blood pressure as her internal systems fail. She is rushed to a specialized trauma unit where surgeons perform an emergency procedure. They find that the nitrogen gas has caused irreversible damage to her internal organs and the surrounding vascular structures. Despite the most aggressive medical intervention, the biological limits of the body have been exceeded. The scale of the trauma to her system is absolute. Her heart stops shortly after. The cause of death is recorded as fatal internal injury resulting from cryogenic chemical trauma and gastric rupture. This tragedy triggered an immediate and permanent shift in the UK hospitality industry. Local authorities launched a massive safety review of the use of cryogenic agents in public venues. Many clubs chose to ban liquid nitrogen cocktails entirely, realizing that the visual flair was not worth the physical risk. Today, the nightclub uses safer alternatives to create its effects. But for the family of Natalie Finch, the 21st year remains a frozen point in time. The universe does not care about the aesthetics of a celebration. It only respects the expansion ratio of a boiling gas. The cold liquid was an industrial tool that had no place in a human body. The silence of the hospital ward was the final echo of a night that forgot the danger of the deep freeze. Safety is the boundary where science and life meet. When that boundary is broken, the result is final. A single sip of a decorative drink ended decades of potential. The machinery of nature moved without emotion, following the rules of pressure and heat. There is no appeal to the physics of expansion. There is only the consequence of the smoke. The glass on the bar sits empty, a silent witness to a life interrupted by a moment of fog and mirrors. The world continues to turn, but a lesson remains written in the archives of a London trauma ward. Every spark of creativity carries a cost if it ignores the raw power of the elements. Nature acted, and the result was an irreversible silence. Safety is never a suggestion. It is a law written in the very atoms of our world. The mist cleared, but the reality was a tragedy that could never be undone. A life was lost to a moment of visual theater. There is no room for error when a liquid is cold enough to shatter steel. Physics is the final judge of every cocktail, and on this night, the sentence was final. The afternoon of July 13, 2013, in Florida, is a heavy, suffocating blanket of golden heat that clings to the skin and stalls the air in the suburbs. The atmosphere is filled with the rhythmic, metallic buzz of cicadas and the distant rhythmic thud of music from a backyard celebration. This is a day for a birthday party. Jennifer Pace is 29 years old. She is a woman known for her bright energy and her deep connection to her friends and family. On this day, she is the focal point of a world built on laughter and summer joy. The center of the backyard activity is a large outdoor trampoline. This machine is a complex system of stored energy. It consists of a heavy galvanized steel frame and a black polypropylene mat. This mat is held under extreme tension by nearly 100 high-tensile steel springs. In a standard safety environment, these devices are built for a single user. Physics functions in a predictable vertical line when only one person is on the mat. But the festive environment of the party encourages a departure from these rules. Several adults decide to use the trampoline at the same time. This introduces a mechanical variable that the structure was never designed to handle. When multiple bodies of significant mass move on a flexible surface, they create intersecting waves of kinetic energy. Jennifer is laughing as she begins to jump with her friends. The rhythm of the mat becomes a chaotic sea of fluctuating tension. At 5:30 p.m., the celebration meets the immutable laws of motion. As Jennifer prepares to land from a standard height, another jumper hits the mat just a fraction of a second before her. This is a physical event known as a double bounce. In this process, the energy from the other person's landing is transferred through the mat and into the springs at the exact moment Jennifer is descending. Instead of the mat sinking to absorb her weight, it rises with a massive, amplified upward force. This effectively turns the flexible fabric into an immovable wall. The timing is a catastrophic coincidence of physics. Jennifer is mid-rotation. Her body is not aligned for a vertical landing. Gravity pulls her down while the mat surges up with the force of a mechanical press. The event now transitions from a backyard accident to a matter of permanent spinal trauma. The interaction results in catastrophic blunt force trauma to the upper cervical spine. The force of the impact causes a sudden and severe displacement of the vertebrae. This leads to a total structural failure of the neck. The spinal cord is the primary highway for the body's life-sustaining signals. It is compromised instantly. The result is a total loss of autonomic function and an immediate respiratory arrest. Jennifer loses consciousness the moment her head makes contact with the reinforced fabric of the mat. The music from the party continues to play for a few heartbeats, but the laughter shatters instantly. Friends rush to the edge of the trampoline and find Jennifer unresponsive. The celebratory energy of the Florida afternoon is replaced by a terrifying, hollow silence. The smell of the grill and the summer grass remains, but the world has fundamentally shifted. Emergency medical services are called at 5:35 p.m. Paramedics arrive to find a scene of total shock. They work with mechanical precision, attempting to stabilize her neck and provide artificial ventilation. Jennifer is rushed to a specialized trauma center. Doctors perform emergency diagnostic imaging and realize the extent of the internal damage. The clinical reality is a non-survivable injury to the central nervous system. Despite the most aggressive medical intervention, the biological limits of the human frame have been exceeded. Her heart stops shortly after arrival. The cause of death is recorded as a fatal injury to the cervical spine. This event triggered a renewed national conversation about the safety of residential trampolines. Insurance companies and health organizations issued stricter warnings, emphasizing that these machines are not toys for multiple adults. The physics of energy transfer do not care about the occasion or the age of the jumper. Today, the backyard is quiet. The trampoline has been dismantled. The springs that once provided a thrill are now just cold, rusted pieces of scrap metal. The story of Jennifer Pace remains a haunting reminder of how easily a celebration can turn into a struggle for survival. The universe does not pause for a birthday. It only follows the rules of inertia and momentum. Safety is a fragile boundary between human joy and physical reality. When that boundary is crossed, the result is final. A life that should have flourished for decades was ended in the time it takes for a spring to recoil. There is no appeal to the laws of motion. There is only the consequence of the impact. The Florida sun continues to shine, and the cicadas still buzz in the trees, but the house remains still. It is a lesson written in the tension of a black mat and the weight of a single jump. Every motion has a consequence. Every surface has a limit. The machinery of fate moved with the speed of a bounce, leaving a legacy of caution in its wake. Physics is the final judge of every leap. There is no room for error when the ground rises to meet you with the force of a machine. The silence of the empty yard is the final witness to a night where the celebration forgot the danger of the game. Nature simply acts, and the consequence is an irreversible silence. Let's cut the polite sympathy. When you watch the girl stand up in the limo or the bride jump into the river, did you feel pity or did you feel anger at their lack of instinct? There is a thin line between tragic victim and fatal negligence. Be honest, do you blame the dangerous machine or do you blame the person who ignored the risk? Write your verdict below. I want the cold truth, not the nice answer. Subscribe if you can handle reality.